Hey everyone, in this video lecture we're going to cover Chapter 1, Performance Management and Reward Systems in Context. Here we go. So this is what we're going to look at today. We have the definition of performance management, the contribution of performance management to organizations, some disadvantages and dangers of performance management systems that are poorly designed or implemented. We're going to look at rewards, which are part of performance management systems. We'll look at the different types of rewards and their definitions, how they fit into the overall performance management system. We'll look at the purposes of systems, the characteristics of an ideal performance management system. What do they look like? How do you design these characteristics? How do you implement them? And then we'll look at performance management around the world, just a couple points about how performance management can be similar or different between different cultures. So performance management is the continuous process of identifying. Identifying can refer to a few different aspects. The biggest are probably performance and results. That is, behavior and results. So we're looking at the behavior and results of the employees within the organization. We're measuring this behavior and these results, and then we're using performance management to develop develop individuals, develop teams, to make individuals and teams better at their jobs. So with performance management, we want to align performance with the strategic goals of the organization. Performance management can look different depending on what the goal of the organization is. Okay? So performance management is not the same as performance appraisal. Performance management, you really have to consider the strategic business considerations. That's what we were just talking about, the goals of the organization, the goals of the business. Performance management is driven by a manager. And performance management involves ongoing feedback so the employee can improve. So that's also what we talked about. The goal is to improve behavior. Remember, back in this slide, that's the developing part of this slide right here. We're looking to develop behavior. Okay. Performance assessment, performance appraisal, on the other hand, is driven by HR. It's usually a once a year, maybe every 6 months, maybe every few months, 3 months or something like that. So with performance appraisal, you're looking at the employee's strengths, weaknesses. It's sort of a one-shot deal, sort of a quick assessment, quick appraisal of the employee. And then the employee or the individual, whoever it may be, just goes right back to work. And you lack that ongoing feedback, that opportunity to really improve. So performance management can contribute to the identifying of behaviors and results, measuring behaviors and results, developing behaviors and results for employees, managers, and organizations and HR function alike. So we can sort of hit on all these different levels. So with employees, you're using performance management to clarify the definitions of a job. What is it that the employee is supposed to be doing here? How do we know that they are doing their job successfully? We can also use performance management to increase motivation to perform. We'll talk about rewards in a few minutes. That's usually the biggest way to increase motivation, or the most successful method. We want to increase self-esteem. So performance management can help employees to feel like they are doing a good job. Also good for motivation. And we want to enhance self-insight and development. So that's that development piece again. We want to improve employees' behavior within the organization. For managers, with performance management systems, managers can make sure that they're communicating their own supervisors' views of performance more clearly. So the managers, can better disseminate the message of the organization down to their employees with these performance management systems, making sure that they are doing a good job with that, so that constant ongoing feedback can give them pointers on how to change or modify their behavior so as to best serve the message of the organization, how to best manage employees, how to best disseminate the message or the goal of the organization. Okay. For the organization, or the HR unit within the organization, performance management can help to clarify goals, facilitate organizational change. So if upper management wants a change to occur within the organization, performance management can help to sort of disseminate this message, like we were talking about for managers. That is the way that an organization would do it. They would sort of ingrain this new message into the performance management system, and this would help employees and managers to move towards that new direction that the organization wants to go. So that's how organizational change can be facilitated by performance management. And then we can have more fair and more appropriate administrative actions within the organization, people treating each other a bit more fairly. And this can serve to better protect an organization from lawsuits. If performance management can help to sort of standardize what's going on within the organization, help every employee and manager to get on the same level, to function the same way, to be rewarded in the same way for the same work. And in this way, organizations can protect themselves from any lawsuits, any kind of litigation. Well, they can. I should say that performance management should help to protect from lawsuits or litigation, but this is, of course, not always the case. Okay, let's look at some disadvantages and dangers of poorly implemented systems for employees. It's sort of the flip side of everything we just talked about. So, if a performance management system is implemented poorly, there's lowered self-esteem. Employees can feel burnt out and dissatisfied with their job. Relationships may be damaged between employees who feel that ratings are unfair. If one employee feels that their ratings or assessments during a performance management session are unfair in relation to another employees, that can damage those two employees' relationships. It can damage relationships between managers and employees. So there's some danger for employees to be negatively affected by these performance management systems. For managers, increased turnover. If the performance management system is unfair or difficult to implement, managers might feel frustrated and possibly leave the organization. There's decreased motivation to perform if managers don't feel as though the performance management system is fair or rewarding them appropriately for their behavior or the results that they achieve. So let's move on to organizations. So wasted time and money. If performance management systems are not implemented correctly, the organization could lose money, could lose these people who are sort of implementing the performance management system might spend a lot of time spinning their wheels, not really getting anywhere. So this could lead to a lot of wasted time. Unclear rating systems can lead to, again, those damaged relationships between members of the organization. So these are all some disadvantages of poorly implemented systems. Okay, let's move on to reward systems. So we'll run through each of these points real quick. A reward system is a set of mechanisms for distributing tangible returns and intangible or relational returns. This is part of the employment relationship that the employee has with his or her organization. So tangible returns are the cash that employees receive. That's base pay, cost of living, pay contingent on performance, And then we have incentives, which would also, incentives are a type of contingent pay. So incentives can be short and both short and long term in nature. Um, Also included in tangible rewards, we have benefits such as income protection. So being guaranteed a certain level of pay if you're within the, or if you are a member of the organization, and a work-life focus. So a lot of companies are sort of getting into the work-life balance mindset a little bit more, allowing employees time off or flexible schedules. So that this can be a type of tangible reward as well. And then we have intangible rewards. So these rewards that um, these rewards are had by just having a relationship with the organization. They're not tangible, and then it's not cash or time off. It's recognition of being with that company, status of being with a certain company, um, challenging work that really motivates, challenges people, um, opportunities to learn, opportunities to um, develop yourself within an organization can be very, very attracting to people. Personal development opportunities. So returns and their degrees of dependency on reporting on performance management. So low dependency includes cost of living adjustment, income protection, and then we have moderate dependency. This is work-life focus, relational returns. So that's that status and recognition, and base pay, which is that cash pay. And then we have high dependency. So contingent pay, which is similar to short-term and long-term incentives. That's pay that's based on performance or results that the employee receives or achieves, I should say, achieves. Okay, so what's the purpose? What is the purpose of performance management systems? So performance management systems are strategic in nature. Like we said at the beginning of this, at this set of slides, you're linking the individual goals with the organizational goals. You want to make sure that a person, an employee, an individual, his or her goals is aligned with the organization's goals. Performance management systems communicate the most crucial business strategic initiatives. So um, that has to do with the whole organizational change. It doesn't have to be a large scale change, but if an organization or business wants to head in a certain direction, performance management systems can be used to communicate that to employees or managers, those who are involved in the performance management system. Okay, so these systems can also provide information for making decisions. So salary adjustments, promotions, retention or termination of employees, recognition of individual performance of achieving certain goals, those short-term and long-term incentives. And also, if an organization is considering layoffs, performance management systems can help to determine who is the most valuable and who is the most or who is the least valuable. Okay, the informational purpose. So, um, performance management systems help to communicate to employees expectations, what's important, how they're doing, how to improve. So, um, these are how performance management systems can help um, directly with employees and help employees to do a better job. Sort of gives them feedback on how they're doing and ways that they can do better, improve themselves. Performance feedback and is sort of like a type of coaching. So with individuals, performance management helps to let those individuals or help those individuals to identify their own strengths, their own weaknesses, helps identify the causes of any performance deficiencies that may be occurring, any problems with work behavior, or if an employee is not getting the results that he or she desires or that the organization desires, performance management systems can help the employees to discover that about themselves and change their behavior accordingly to be more successful. Okay, so the organizational maintenance purpose, excuse me. So planning an effective workforce. So being able to disseminate that message to your entire workforce to get them all on the same page through a performance management system. You can assess the needs of your workforce with a performance management system. You can see where there are deficiencies, see where employees are lacking at an individual level, but then also look at that across all individuals and see if it's a theme, see if it's a trend, see if it's something that the organization needs to address on a larger scale. Okay. So there's also documentation. So this has to do mostly with the legal requirements. So if you are keeping records of your performance management systems and your evaluations, your ongoing evaluations through performance management systems, this can help with legal defense if employees bring any complaints to the Equal Employment Opportunities Committee. These records, this documentation that you're keeping, can help to protect the organization against any litigation. Okay, now let's look at an ideal performance management system. 15 characteristics. The first is strategically congruent. So that's sort of a theme throughout this this chapter. So the performance management system is consistent with the organization's strategy. It's aligned with the either the unit that the performance management system is taking place within, or the entire organization. Okay, it's congruent with the organization's culture. So an example might be a 360-degree feedback, where an employee is getting feedback from a supervisor, a coworker, or a subordinate. That might not be effective where communication is more rigid, and where hierarchies exist. It doesn't really align with the cultural context of the organization. A performance management system is thorough. All employees are evaluated. All major job responsibilities are evaluated. Evaluations cover performance for the entire review period, and feedback is given on both the positive and the negative performance to help employees improve. A performance management system should be practical. It's easily available. It's easy to use for those implementing it and those who are going through it, who are experiencing it, who are being assessed. It's acceptable to the decision makers. Again, that has to do with the decision makers up at the top. They want this performance management system to be strategically and culturally aligned. Okay, should be meaningful. So standards are important and relevant. So it should assess only what the employee can control. So it shouldn't assess employees on things that they can't control. Obviously, that's unfair. I think that has some face value right there. You don't want to assess employees on things that they can't control. They'll feel as though they are not being treated fairly. I know I would. Evaluation should occur regularly and at appropriate times. And systems, the system provides for a continuing skill development of both the employees and the evaluators. So this performance management system should help the employees or those being assessed to improve, and it should help the evaluators to improve their own evaluating skills. Okay, it should be specific. So performance management should be concrete. It should be detailed. It should tell employees what is a what is expected of them, how they've been doing thus far, what they've been doing thus far, how that's affecting the organization at large. Um, it should tell employees where they need to be, the expectations that are held for them, and how to get there, how to meet these expectations. So it identifies the problem, if there are any, and then it also provides solutions. It provides a goal and a path to meet that goal. Okay. So performance management systems should also identify effective and ineffective performance. So I think this is a pretty obvious one. A good system should distinguish between effective and ineffective behaviors of the employees, and also results. And again, it should only assess those behaviors and results that employees can control. Obviously, an employee shouldn't get punished for results that are out of his or her control. Okay. Should be, let's move on to the next slide here. Okay, an ideal performance management system should be consistent. It should be free of error. It should have inter-rater reliability. These are all things that contribute to the reliability of a performance management system. It should be consistent across all employees, and it shouldn't have any errors in the rating system or scale. An ideal system should be valid, again, relevant to the employee. It should measure what that employee does on his or her job. You don't want to measure things that the employee doesn't do, obviously. And it should measure results that the employee, behaviors and results that the employee can control. Okay, it's not deficient. It doesn't measure unimportant facets of the job. You don't want to measure. You don't want to put a lot of stock in the unimportant duties that an employee may do. You really want to reward employees and measure those important behaviors that contribute to the organization reaching its goals. Okay. Performance management system should be acceptable and fair. So there should be a perception of distributive justice. So the work performed should say it this way. The reward is based on the evaluation. Okay, so the reward is contingent upon the evaluation received, and the evaluation should accurately cover the work that the employee has performed. Okay, so if these connections aren't made, then you do not have a performance management system that is fair, that is just. Okay. It should be inclusive. A performance management system should be. It represents the concerns of all those involved. So it should consider the employees, the managers, those who are performing the evaluations, and the higher ups in the business. It should the concerns of all these people, all these levels within the organization should be taken into account when the performance management system is created. Okay. It should be open. There shouldn't be any secrets held from the employees. If there's secrets being held from the employees, then the employees might feel that there's something fishy going on, and thus may also feel that they are being treated unfairly. I think that's pretty straightforward. The notion that employees will not approve of secrets being held or information being kept from them. So evaluations and feedback should be frequent and ongoing. It should be a two-way communication in the appraisal, in the performance management meeting. Employees should be able to say their piece as well. Not just it's not just the evaluators telling the employee everything. It's a two-way conversation. The employee is able to have input as well. Okay. It's correctable. So an ideal performance management system should be correctable. If there are any errors that arise, they should be able to be corrected. Human judgment is fallible. These systems are created by people, and a ideal system should be able to be corrected. Once a system is in place, it shouldn't be the case that it can never be altered, never be changed, because problems may and probably will occur. Okay, it should be standardized. So again, all employees should be evaluated not in the same way per se, because employees certainly do different jobs, but certainly there shouldn't be any favoritism or the evaluation should be consistent across managers. So those who are doing the evaluation should be evaluating each person consistently and in a standard way. Okay, so an ideal system should be ethical. Again, there shouldn't be any favoritism. Those who are doing the evaluation shouldn't make evaluations based on their own self-interest. Okay, and the supervisor should only, or excuse me, those who are providing ratings should only do so when they have sufficient information about the employee and his or her performance. Ratings shouldn't be just thrown around without proper data, without proper input. Okay. All right, last couple of slides here. Performance management around the world. Just a couple things about culture and how it influences performance management. So it's used in many countries around the world. So what's common is the need to align individual and organizational goals, okay, to enhance the performance of employees, of managers, of the higher ups within the organization, those who create the strategic vision and the culture. Performance management needs to, or should, a good performance management system should align the goals of all these levels, all of these individuals and levels within the organization. Okay, but what's different in performance management is the emphasis of the performance management system might be a bit different. So an example here we have in Japan, the Japanese may tend to emphasize behaviors and not so much results, where in the USA, a lot of reward systems, a lot of performance management systems are based on results, which both have their positives and negatives, and not to say that one's better than the other, but certainly they each have their positive and negatives, and how you reward behavior, again, should align with the strategic goals of the organization. Okay, and there's another example about South Korea. You can go ahead and read that. But that's about it for Chapter 1. Thank you for listening and watching, and good luck with your assignments and quizzes. I'll see you next time.